As someone who loves information and loves to learn, I have to watch out for getting stuck in what I like to refer to as a constant learning loop. What is a constant learning loop? Well, it's where you kind of get into this loop or this pattern of constantly looking for new information, new education, new insight, which sometimes can be good, sometimes can be useful, sometimes can be helpful and productive, but other times it might be hindering you more than it's helping. When you are learning so much information that you aren't actually giving yourself time to absorb and understand what you're learning, it's not going to help anything. It's actually more likely to make things harder. Something I learned back when I was in high school was that on average, you're going to learn anywhere, and remember, 10 to 30% of what you learn, whether that's coming from video content, whether that's things you're reading, whether that's things you're hearing, like, having a professor speak to you or listening to a podcast, you're not going to remember all of it. And when you're constantly flooding your brain with new information, new input, the same thing applies. You're not going to remember everything that you're learning, everything that you're trying to learn. So how do I work through this? Well, I try to minimize to an extent the new information I'm taking in on an everyday basis. Sometimes this can look like if there's a video I want to watch, say on YouTube, and I really want to absorb that information and get a good grasp, I'll listen to it 2 or 3 times, and every single time there's new information that I'm taking in, and I just hadn't really noticed the time before, which can be really helpful if it's something you're trying to implement or a new skill you're trying to learn. The other thing I do is try to minimize my doom scrolling, right? Doom scrolling is another one of those things that shortens your attention span and is just overwhelming you with so much information that it makes it really hard to actually absorb it and put it to use. Sure, I post on social media and I hope to give helpful advice, and I receive helpful advice and tips from social media. But if all I'm doing is constantly learning, I'm not giving myself the time to implement this. And this goes across the board, whether it's tangible new skills that I'm trying to learn as I'm building my business, or whether it's, mindset, spiritual, mental health, shadow work, like all those things can fall into this category too. Sometimes when you are seeing so many people and learning so many different things, and there's just all this information, and you legitimately like learning, you have different things, hobbies, interests that you want to learn about, you try to do a little bit of everything, and it makes it so that you're not really doing much at all. But when you can take the time to slow down, maybe you dedicate a week to learning one sort of art practice and you legitimately practice it. Or you want to pick up a new skill like photographing paintings, for example. That's something I want to work on. Taking the time to watch, to learn, and then to practice. That's the most important thing. You have to actually practice what you're learning if you want it to stick. You're going to have a lot better of an outcome, I almost guarantee, than if you were to spend hours learning about 5 different topics to the point where you don't have energy to do any sort of implementation. It's kind of like going in one ear and out the other. And I am somebody who has fallen guilty of this trap so many times. Sometimes that comes from seeing friends who are doing amazing work and I love it and I want to help or participate, or it inspires, you know, urge to learn about different things in myself. But I still have to at times pull myself back. Sometimes this means looking and trying to listen to my intuition and what it's guiding me to. I have a lot of times, because I have so many things I'd like to try, I save things in folders. I have a specific folder that's crafts and hobbies that I'd like to try, that are all these cool, interesting styles that I would love to work with. And that way I'm not when I go to do my art, trying to think of 10 different things I want to do and wanting to do all of it and not winding up doing any of it. Though realistically, a lot of times when it comes to me doing art, I go with the things that I enjoy. But I do like to branch out and try new things. The same can be said about my spiritual practice. You know, one thing I'm really working on learning myself right now is to better balance, regulate, and work with my chakras. And that's an energy system that I know a little bit about, but I don't know a ton of. And using that as a specific example right now, I've spent a lot the last week learning about my root chakra, learning to work with my root chakra, seeing the issues that are coming up with the work I try to do, and then working through that, spending the time sitting alone with my head and receiving whatever information I need from my guides and stuff to actually truly learn and implement what I'm learning. And that makes a huge difference. Do I want to learn all of the chakras and do everything with them all at once? Absolutely, because again, I love that information. But for me, if I try to say learn all 7 chakras in 1 week, or 7 of the chakras, you know, my brain is getting jumbled. I don't edit this. What I was trying to say there was there are different schools of theory I'm learning of as to how many chakras there are. There are a lot more than 7, I have learned. But you know, the standard is there's 7 chakras. But if I'm trying to learn about all of them all in 1 week, I'm not going to do anything. Instead, I'm taking the time to truly know, learn, and understand how mine works and how my energy works. And it's helping to prevent me from being in this constant learning loop. When I'm in that state of constantly trying to learn new information and gain more information, it also makes it a lot harder for me to sit in the present moment. And that's something I've really been noticing in particular these last few months. I used to meditate a lot more. It's something I'm working on getting back into. But when I find myself stuck in these learning loops of constantly seeking new information, it makes it that much harder to sit with just some meditation music on and my own thoughts, because I'm like, well, why would I do that when I could go learn all this new information? And it doesn't help. It just overwhelms my system to the point where I don't want to do anything. So if you're finding yourself stuck in a learning loop, I'm not saying don't learn anything new, not by any stretch of the means, but maybe limit it. Maybe if you want to go learn something, focus on one book at a time or one topic at a time. You know, you could even pick a different topic in the morning and a different topic in the afternoon, or stick to one topic for a whole week and find different mediums to listen or learn that topic in. Yeah, hopefully this video kind of came out making sense. It makes sense in my brain, but given that I kind of record these based on inspiration, sometimes I feel like they're a little bit rambly, which is why I try to keep them short. But I hope that you did get some valuable information here. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you. I'm grateful for you. And if this is the kind of information you like, please feel free to subscribe because I am posting a lot more of it. Anyways, I will see you next time.